Good evening, everyone. My name is Tricia Eisner, Manager of Inflow and Infiltration Reduction Program at Halifax Water. Welcome to this virtual meeting for the Horns Road, Janisan Drive, and Scott Drive Inflow and Infiltration Reduction Project. So let's talk about this project. And today we're going to talk about the difference between wastewater and stormwater and why we keep them separate. We're also going to talk about what is I&I and also the difference between public and private property and infrastructure. We're also going to talk about how you can find I&I on your property and how to fix these issues. We'll also have some tips for you to consider. And lastly, we'll talk about the next steps in this project. So wastewater is the flow from your plumbing fixtures, such as your toilets, sinks, showers, dishwashers, washing machines, floor drains, and so on. This flow travels from your building through an underground pipe, which we call a lateral, to the wastewater system in the street. Stormwater is considered any rain, surface water, groundwater, and melting snow, of which it can run across the surface, sink into the ground, or flow through a stormwater system. The wastewater and stormwater systems are designed to carry the flow separately. The issue is if stormwater enters into the wastewater system, this extra volume of flow can overload the wastewater system. This can happen during wet weather events, such as heavy rain, snow melt in the spring, and high groundwater conditions. And what happens when the system becomes overwhelmed, we could have overflows to the environment, which in turn creates human health exposure issues to raw sewage. We also can have troubles with our wastewater treatment facility having difficulties making treatment. In addition, there can also be issues with the wastewater system causing backups or damage to the infrastructure, all of which is costly to repair and maintain and fix. So how does this affect you as a property owner? Well, I'm sure you don't want to be exposed to pollution from the spillage of raw sewage in your lakes and rivers and across the ground surface. And as well, all of these costs that Halifax Water needs to put into the infrastructure will come back to you as increased Halifax Water rates. And then you also don't want to have to worry about your basement flooding, which is the big key thing, which in turn can result in property damage, which can be costly in the essence of you could also have your insurance increased or even canceled in some cases. And likewise, if you want to try to sell your property, you could be looking at a decreased property value associated with flooding issues. So let's talk about how does stormwater get into the wastewater system. In essence, there's two avenues, inflow and infiltration. Inflow is considered a direct connection into the wastewater system itself, or infiltration is more slower leakage into the infrastructure. We'll talk about this a bit more in detail in some examples. Together, inflow and infiltration is called I&I. And to reduce I&I, we need to make repairs to not only the public, but also the private properties. So let's talk about the difference between the public and private. As you can see in this diagram, we have your wastewater system that connects your sinks and toilets, travels through your building, leaves your building, travels along a wastewater lateral underground to our wastewater main in the street. So all of the public infrastructure is all the underground pipes, manholes, and catch basins that are found in the street and in the HRM right-of-way up to your property line. Everything else on the public side is considered all of your plumbing and drains and underground pipes found within the boundaries of your property line. Halifax Water has been performing various assessments, including flow metering, closed circuit television videos, CCTVs, and smoke testing to find I&I issues in our public infrastructure. Various repairs have been made, which has helped reduce some of the I&I in the wastewater system. Now we are looking to you as property owners in this project area to look across your property and assess for sources of stormwater that may be entering the wastewater system. Where you find I&I, we're asking you to make repairs and redirect the flow of stormwater out of the wastewater system. So where would you look on your property? This diagram gives you a general idea of inflow and infiltration sources. And again, you'll recognize the same picture with the plumbing infrastructure and the wastewater lateral connecting to the street. So inflow sources, again, are the direct connections which may be attributed to various items on your property, such as window well drains, stairwell drains on the exterior of your building, foundation drains, sump pumps, likewise downspouts, French drains or catch basin and other area drains in your yard, as well as uncapped cleanouts. We'll talk all about these very shortly. On the infiltration side, which is our red items, again, this is the slow leakage due to root intrusion, for instance, or broken and leaking pipes. So let's talk about some examples. So sump pumps is a common one that we find. Sump pumps are designed to drain groundwater from under your basement floor. This is different than a sewer pump that you may have in your building, which is designed to collect all of the wastewater that comes from your sinks and toilets and so on, and is sent to the wastewater system. If you have a sump pump, which is taking groundwater, it cannot be connected to the wastewater system, and that's the item that needs to be repaired. So if we look at these pictures, you'll see an example of a groundwater sump pump, and the discharge hose comes up and is connected to the wastewater system. This is your main wastewater pipe that leaves your building and goes to the street in the HRM right away. Likewise, this is a similar example of a sump pump, and it's got a cover, and its discharge pipe comes up and across and connects into the wastewater system that goes out to your street. Now, if you look at this example, again, this is a sump pump in your basement floor with a cover. And this discharge pipe actually goes up and out into your yard and across the yard and dissipates into the ground. So this is a good example of where you can discharge your stormwater from your sump pump. Another interesting aspect to this picture is we have this black box on the floor. It contains a battery. That battery provides backup power supply in the event that the power should go out. So for instance, on a very rainy day, you may have high winds which knocks out your power, but yet the rain is collecting in your sump pump through the groundwater. And with the battery backup, you're not worrying about having your basement flood because of the sump pump's lack of power. Downspouts are another connection point that could be connected to the wastewater system. So when rain hits your roof, it comes down and is collected into your gutters along the edge of the roof, and then it travels down one or more downspouts along the side of your building. If you look at the pictures here, here's a downspout that comes down and actually goes into the side of the building. This picture shows a downspout coming down and is collected into a pipe that extends below ground. If either of these two pipes are connected to your wastewater system, those connections need to be altered. So for instance, if we look at this particular picture, this downspout used to come down and enter the ground, as you can see here, but it's been disconnected with an extension pipe and is extended across the yard and discharges the water a distance away from the foundation. Meanwhile, that pipe that went underground, we put a cap on it to prevent any debris or stormwater from entering that pipe. Another avenue is wastewater cleanouts. If you look at this diagram, it's similar to the one we saw earlier. So you have your wastewater collection system that goes out to the street, and you see this vertical pipe that extends from the ground surface down to your wastewater lateral. That vertical pipe allows you access to your wastewater lateral for cleaning or for video inspection and so on. If that pipe is damaged or the cap is missing, that can allow stormwater into the wastewater system. So these pictures provide examples of a cleanout pipe that has no cap or a damaged cap. And likewise, you may find damage to the actual vertical pipe, all of which needs to have some minor repairs. Foundation drains are another source of potential connection to the wastewater system. So a foundation drain is a pipe or channel that surrounds some or all of your building's foundation and footing. This drain could be inside or it could be outside. So if you look at these two diagrams, these two pictures here, they show the side of your foundation and its exposed foundation drain, which is underground. So normally this is backfilled with dirt and gravel, and you can see the pipe extending underground. This particular picture shows a black corrugated foundation drain, which the industry tends to call a big O pipe. So this big O pipe needs to discharge the stormwater from around your foundation to some other location that is not connecting to your wastewater system. Likewise, inside, you could have a similar sort of piping system that surrounds or is across your basement floor. It could look in various ways, such that you have the exposed ground below your concrete floor with a pipe, or it may be just the gravel that you see and you don't see the pipe, or it may be that the concrete is actually filled back in over top the gravels and pipe. This particular picture shows that this drain collects this water down at a sump pump, which in turn the sump pump takes away the water. Likewise, it could look to be a grill, like a grate like this, which could be plastic or metal. And likewise, in your smaller basements or crawl spaces where you have a dirt floor, you may find channels dug in the dirt or gravel trenches that collect this stormwater from under your basement into this area. So all of these stormwater collection systems are great to have to avoid water in your basement, but they can't be connected to the wastewater system. Another inside drain, which is an odd looking drain, can be found in some homes, typically in older homes, but could be in any home. This plumbing allows groundwater from under the basement floor to enter the wastewater system. And it can look in various ways. So if we look at these pictures, the first one shows a gravel basement floor, and this end of the pipe is actually open such that any water collected in this pit can go in that pipe, travel through the plumbing, and then is attached to the wastewater main pipe that leaves your building to the street. So this connection is not permitted. Now this plumbing orientation may look more smaller, like this particular one, which shows the two tops and the plumbing in between. It may be covered over with a board, like in this case was, or a metal grate or anything like that. So it may not be visible right off the top. This particular picture shows the similar covers and plumbing fixture, and the floor has been backfilled with concrete right up to the cover. And likewise, you can barely see this wastewater pipe under the concrete floor, and hence that plumbing fixture is connected. So a couple ways to deal with this particular plumbing is you can either disconnect it at the connection to the wastewater system, or in the same area, you can insert an impervious plug such that the groundwater and any stormwater cannot pass through into the wastewater system. Meanwhile, you'll need to consider if there's water that enters this particular plumbing structure, how you're going to manage that, because now you won't have that connection to the wastewater system. So here's a variety of other exterior drains that could be connected to the wastewater system that we want you to have a look for. So for instance, in your parking lot, you may have a catch basin that extends underground. If it's connected to the wastewater system, or any other structure like your foundation drain, which in turn is connected to the wastewater system, that stormwater structure needs to be disconnected. Likewise, you may have outside of your building a rear entrance that is kind of underground. So you have a pit with stairs going down to the door, and at the bottom of the stairs, you may have a drain. And if that drain is connected to the wastewater system, which may be connected to the foundation drain that's connected to the wastewater system, it needs to be addressed. So any connections, inadvertently or direct, needs to be considered. So looking at some of these other pictures, we have a similar sort of below grade window with a similar sort of drain. We also have driveway grates, which are a lot of times in front of garage doors to keep the water from entering into a garage door. And likewise, you see a catch basin and a downspout. So this location has 3 different things going on. And likewise, if you look around your yard, you may find similar grates like this, or a trench filled full of gravel, which may be French drains or yard drains, all of which need to be considered if they're connected to the wastewater system. So we just finished talking about all of, I'll say, the direct inflow sources. So let's talk a little bit about the indirect systems, which includes the broken, leaky pipes and tree roots and so on. So you probably recognize this picture from earlier slide, and it shows your wastewater pipe leaving your building and along the underground section and connecting to our main in the street. So what can happen is over time, if you have trees or such forth in the vicinity of the wastewater lateral, the tree roots can actually penetrate into the lateral through cracks or joints. And likewise, you could have the pipes itself that get crushed due to the weight above it, either from the soil or from vehicles parking on it and such forth. You may also find that over time, the pipe material will actually degrade. So the older and different pipe materials can degrade over time and cause issues. So for instance, these are 2 pictures of a CCTV that was done of various laterals. So this particular pipe, inside the pipe of your lateral, you can see the tree roots that have come in, and they'll start to build up and build up. Likewise, in this particular picture, it's been on a rainy day and the groundwater is high, so we're having that penetration of rain and groundwater coming through cracks and joints in these wastewater pipe. So these kinds of conditions not only allow stormwater into the wastewater system, but these pipes could end up becoming partially or even fully blocked and even collapse. And as a result, that can cause backups of sewer in that lateral pipe to the point that it causes even basement flooding. So this is not a good thing, needless to say. So we strongly recommend that, particularly if your lateral pipe is, say, 25 to 30 years old, you may want to get a CCTV video of the lateral to examine the pipe condition. So some tips of where can you send your stormwater now that you've redirected it from your wastewater system. So managing the stormwater on your property is a great idea. So you can send it to your yard. We recommend any discharges from your house directed away from your foundation, say 2 meters or so. You don't want that water soaking back in the ground against your foundation walls and into your footing areas such that it could come back into your basement. So direct it away from your foundation towards any nearby water bodies, as you can see in this diagram, such that it goes away. And likewise, any stormwater systems that you can put on your property, like a French drain or any sorts. You can also send it towards the road into the Halifax water ditch system. There are also some areas in the project area that have underground stormwater systems. If you're interested in connecting to that, you can contact us to get more information about what we have for infrastructure in front of your property. You can also look at other stormwater devices on your property, such as underground storage, rain gardens, retention ponds, such that it drains away naturally in the ground, or even like dry wells and soak away pits. All of which you need to consider specifically for your property, because each property has different conditions. A couple little things we want to caution you on is as you're redirecting your stormwater, be careful not to flood or cause icing concerns in the street or your neighboring properties. Also keep an eye on the discharge itself, that it's not disturbing the soil at the discharge point such that it's causing erosion and sediment transport, particularly to downstream environmental receptors like streams and so on. So what's the next steps in this project? After this webinar, we will be sending each of you as property owners in the project area a personalized letter. And in that letter, we're going to identify that you need to have a look around your property for I&I issues. And where you find I&I issues, we need you to make repairs, which will be paid by yourself. We will also include in this letter some more supporting information and some fact sheets, which I will identify at the end of this presentation that you can find on our website as well. We will also identify in the letter that at a future time, once COVID and such forth is more in control, we will be requiring you to get mandatory property inspections. And the purpose of these is to have a look inside and outside to confirm the repairs that you've already done, and also to identify any potential ones that you may have missed. After that inspection, we'll be identifying to you any further repairs that you might need to be done. And at that point in time, we'll be giving you a deadline to get those repairs done. So as I mentioned, more information that you can get could be this presentation, which we will make available on our Halifax Water website and our Halifax Water YouTube channel. You can also go to our website page for I&I, and you'll find our brochure as well as various other fact sheets, as you see here. So our downspout, sump pump, underslab drain, and property stormwater drainage fact sheets. So if you go to our website link at halifaxwater.ca, Halifax Owner Responsibility, you can find this more information. In addition, you can also give us a call at our customer care phone number, 902-420-9287. One of our customer care representatives can answer some of your general questions. Your more detailed questions will be forwarded to our I&I staff, who in turn will call you back and give you some information. Alternatively, you can email us at inflow@halifaxwater.ca, and one of our I&I people will email you or call you back per your request and provide you with the additional information that you may require.